Hey guys, Sullivan Owen here in Philadelphia. Today's video is all about fall peony planting and transplanting. I love peonies. I ordered all my fall peony roots in the spring. I think that that's a great time to look online for people who are already growing plants, and that is how I found the most amazing websites to order peonies from. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about where my roots for this year came from, and I'll show you some of the ones from last year. And then I have two peonies that I have existing in my garden that I have to relocate, and I have two that I have to dig up because they were nursery plants and they were already in planting cans, and they were, I think, planted a little too deep in those cans. So I'm gonna try to dig those up, and we'll look for some eyes so that I can get them planted, because they didn't bloom this year. And planting your peonies too deep is apparently what happens when they grow but don't bloom. So, but first, I'm really excited to show you guys these gorgeous roots that came from Solaris Farms in Wisconsin. Last year, I spent my fall-winter plant budget on dahlias. You can check out that video. And this year, I spent my fall-winter plant budget on 10 peonies. They are a definite investment, and I'll talk a little bit more about why they are costly and how they are a plan for long-term enjoyment. So let's talk about fall peony planting. Okay, so a brief overview of the three types of peonies commonly found in garden centers, nurseries, and on the websites. I'm going to link below. The most commonly known peony would be herbaceous peony, and you're going to see these primarily used as cut flowers. You're going to find their roots are going to be a little more affordable. They are not as slow growing as a tree or woody peony. And so, and you can see them, and they're a very long-lasting plant. They're gonna grow well and last, I've seen some 30, 40 years old. They can be dug and divided pretty easily, which is why you see the roots generally for these do not cost as much as some more rare or hard to find or slow-growing plants. The tree or woody peony would be the next category. These are going to be the 9 plants, the big heavy roots that we saw at the top of this video. That's what I bought this year, exclusively from Solaris Farms. Not sponsored, just a big fan of how just dealing with them this whole year was. Last year, I planted primarily herbaceous or intersectional peonies. This year, I opted to spend my fall-winter plant budget on 9 tree or woody stemmed peony shrubs from Solaris Farms. And you can see these are the ones that I'll put up a collage of the ones that I have purchased. And the only herbaceous that I'm planting this year would be pasteligans. And pasteligans is still a pretty costly plant. Edelman's has it. A few people have it in different price points, and as my understanding of it is that it's a newer cross between probably a golden yellow and a coral, and it's really a gorgeous pale pastel peach nude. You can see how good it looks, and I got it cut. They came from Edelman, cut to New York's Flower District, and that's where I got them this year. And they were massive. So gorgeous. But it was a 1-week delivery, and then I don't think I saw them again for the rest of the season. So that kind of helps hopefully put into a little context that sometimes these things are pretty rare. So the last type of peony would be intersectional peonies, and these are a cross between an herbaceous peony and a tree peony or a woody peony, and they are most commonly labeled out in garden centers as ITOH, ITOH. And so they're hybrids, essentially. They're definitely millions of gorgeous options out there, but I'm probably going to refer to the different peonies by what they are, so I thought it would be a good idea to tell you guys. There are some great resources and websites that I will link to below, and I can't recommend garden.org enough. The people on those different flower forums, some of them have been growing for forever, and they're really sweet, and they're just so helpful to new people who want to ask questions but don't really, in the middle of winter, the garden centers are not stocked with people that want to answer your questions. So I found the internet forum to be a very retro but helpful way to get some information. Okay, so I was away a couple of weeks ago for work and came home to boxes and boxes of roots and bulbs for fall planting. And I'm also in the thick of wedding season. So I am squeezing in a few hours on a free Sunday to get these peonies taken care of. But this is what peony roots look like out of the box. And you can see they are labeled with the variety, and then I have made my own plant tag. These are just copper plant tags from Amazon, and then I use a label maker to make the labels. And this is an herbaceous peony called Pasteligans, and those pink things are the buds. And what I love about, so the rest of my peonies are mostly woody, stemmed. So what I was really psyched to learn about from Nate at Solaris Farm is that when he ships his plants, because they're, let me back up a little. When you're buying peonies from a farm where they grow their own stock, that means that they were growing these plants and they dig them in the fall and they do divisions. So if you're buying at a premium price point, you're generally getting a division from an older plant. Peonies can take anywhere from 3 to 5 years to establish. So this one's called Coral Nebula, and I'm going to put pictures up to show you all of them. And we're going to remove this plant label, but this is the amazing thing about what Solaris does. They include this zip tie to show you where the soil level should be. So if I lay this down, I'm going to be putting from here all the way down into the soil. And I'm going to be digging a hole that can accommodate the root without compressing it at all. And this makes it almost foolproof because, as I mentioned in the intro, I have some peonies that I bought from a nursery. They were in, let's say, a 5-gallon, 4-gallon pot. They were filled with soil. They had, the crown was showing. They flowered. And then the second year, they didn't bloom. And I think that's because the bud, the eyes, are too far below the soil line. So this is amazing what Nate and Solaris have provided. And I have 10 peonies here. And here is another root. What is this one? Aquila. And that's already got a little stem. So they all the growers that I have ever ordered from do include planting instructions, and if they look a little, they are shipped in peat moss, lightly dampened peat moss. But you can see they're all different, and root size, as far as I'm aware, is not any indication of how the plant will perform. But I think what I'm most excited about is that Nate sent me, this is Hephaestus, which is a peony that I ordered after having worked with it as a cut flower this year. And I think that they were possibly out of their smaller root divisions. And so he sent me this like monster, which I am so, so excited about. So that's going to be a big hole to dig because this is where it has to go. All of this material has to go below the surface. The other thing that I can't say enough good things about with Nate from Solaris is that I ordered all of these and then realized that I probably was not going to have all the beds completely done for them because we have to have so much tree work done and I'm creating a bunch of new beds. So he was kind enough to answer a bunch of questions for me. I feel confident that I have places that I can put these, but they will not be their forever homes. He did offer to keep the plants for me for another year and then ship them to me, but I would like to kind of let them start getting acclimated here in Pennsylvania rather than staying in Wisconsin for another year. So I have a good bed with plenty of annuals in it that I can pull out. I'm going to treat it with a little compost, and I'm going to have just like kind of a peony island for this coming year. And then this time next year, hopefully my beds will be finished in the big part of the yard, and these can all kind of move into their forever homes. And it may set them back a little, but if I've learned anything from these last couple of years of gardening, it's kind of worth the wait. So these are the bare roots. I'm going to plant just one of them for you guys on camera, and then I'm going to dig up one on camera and show you what it looks like when you're digging a plant out of the ground to relocate it. So okay, so here are two more, and you can see these were pretty full plants. This one definitely means fall. It's time to clean it up. But, oh no, wait. Okay, so this is Copper Kettle, and this is another Old Rose Dandy. And both of these I bought in containers from a nursery, and they put on beautiful spikes of foliage this year, but didn't flower. So I'm actually going to dig them up and see if they have buds and eyes. And I may actually just add some compost to the hole and replant them a little more shallow since I'm limited in how much space I have. We didn't get any flowers on this guy this year. These are the bud eyes. These like bright pinky. And they were too far under. So I want to say, I should have marked it on the plant. But I'm going to cut all of this back to here and make sure to plant it so this whole root is down low and the eyes are about an inch under the soil line. All right, so it is starting to rain, so I have to put the camera away. Make sure the mic is on me. But yeah, I'm gonna keep working on replanting the peonies that didn't bloom. I only have one more. I'm gonna try to get some footage of me planting one if it stops raining. So let me just put the camera away for now. Okay, so I am going to plant this probably 2 or 3 year old rose dandy root so that these pink bud eyes are 1 inch below the ground, and then I've got the whole, I loosened it up, turned it around, added in some compost and some biotone. And now I'm going to show you how to get it positioned and planted so that these buds don't sink too low underground. Okay, so because everything in the hole was very loose, I was able to just kind of like swirl the soil around the root mass so it's down in there. And I'm going to just water it in from here. And then I'm kind of using the top of my little shovel to see where the top of the soil line would be. And then I'm going to water in to make sure there's no air pockets down there, fill in the whole hole, and then tamp it down. And then before it gets colder in about a month, I'm going to put some mulch around each of the peony crowns, which I will scrape away in the springtime. So I'm going to water in, and then we'll finish packing it in. All right, so it's all watered in. I'm gonna let the water drain down a little bit and then pack the soil down on top, water again, and put my stake in, or my plant name stake, so that I don't forget that there's a peony planted here. All right, guys, so my peonies are all in the ground. I worked on it during the rain. So with woody tree peonies, shrub peonies, Solaris recommends going an inch above this zip tie. That's their soil line. So I know that I haven't covered that by an inch yet, but I am waiting to get a delivery of compost and mulch so that I can top dress everything. So they will be properly planted, probably up to over this guy in another couple weeks. I just have, I have to get my materials for fall top dressing in, and then I also have weddings still. So I will get these done though before it gets too cold. So if I can break down from a floral designer's perspective the cost of some of these plants for you, it might make it it might make it a little more clear as to why some of these plants cost as much as they do. But generally, based on experience with cut flowers, and now as a gardener who's working on my landscape, the more slow growing a plant is, generally you're going to find that those are going to be more costly. And if you think about your experience at the garden center, annuals can cost, if you're buying them in flats, they can cost as little as, less than $1 if you're buying a flat per plant, versus something like a very slow growing tree that somebody's probably going to pay a couple $100 for, to a tree that's 7 or 8 feet tall. You could pay close to $1,000 for it. So when you look at the peonies available on these websites, they range from $10, $15 for a root division of a fairly common herbaceous peony to there are peonies out there. I didn't buy any this year, but I found a few that were $300-$400 for a division of one of these plants. And my understanding as both a cut flower designer and a new gardener is that these plants have been held and kept safe and grown and cultivated for years before they get to us. So there's a cost to that. Say that they won't necessarily, some of these plants aren't too expensive for some home gardeners. For me, because I do flowers for a living, and I have been designing weddings for people for 10 years, I'm fairly good at budgeting for certain things and certain expenditures. And I know that I can really kind of afford to do one big plant investment per season. And the off season, I have a set budget. And this year I chose to spend it all at Solaris Farms. And I think it was a great investment. And I haven't even gotten a flower yet. Last year, I did plant some peonies purchased from Edelman, which is going to be another website linked below. And last year, I planted mostly herbaceous peonies, or cross herbaceous peonies, sometimes known as Ito. So this is turning into a very comprehensive, long peony video, but I hope you enjoyed somebody who's building up their collection. I mentioned a few times during this video that none of my plants, that the roots that I showed you guys, are going into their forever home. And so I will not be moving them in the spring, no matter how tempted I am. We actually just started confirming the tree work that we need to have done. And I know I'm going to be working on my new garden beds as much as possible, even in the middle of winter. But I know that it's best for my investment and best for my plant roots to just leave them where they are, treat them well, make sure that they don't get dried out. That bed will be on a drip system next year, but I'm going to carefully monitor them, make sure everything's draining well, treat them well with good compost and some good mulch through the winter, and just really kind of care for them so that maybe in the beginning of October next year, we can do this video again, and I'll be digging up all the plants that I just planted and moving them into their forever beds, or as long as I live here, because I have to say, for as much money as I spend on the roots, if we ever leave this house, they're coming with me.